Hello,
Hello,
everybody.
Hey, you see the hair?
I just got it done today.
It's beautiful. You see how it goes from orange all the way to red to magenta. Is that pronounced correctly?
No. Magenta.
Hi.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
We're the Book
Yes,
Doctors.
we are the Book Doctors. Yes.
For those of you who don't know us, we'll do a quick introduction.
You want to say hi, Olive?
Oh, shit.
Yeah, Olive's going to come say hi. You see our cat behind us.
That's Ernie.
Yeah. There's Olive. Say hi, Olive. Hi, Olive.
Quick
introduction.
Okay,
introduction. I'm introducing you.
Sure.
All right. So this is my my partner in crime. She's been a literary agent. Just celebrated her 25th anniversary being a literary agent. She started when she was 9 years old. She's also the author of 9 17/18 of books.
Yep. It's true.
She has a book due on Monday.
Yep.
Yeah. She does. Also, an entrepreneur started a company called Little Mismatched, which began by selling socks that don't match in packs of 3s. One of the reasons I love America. And that company blew up to the point where they have stores all the way from Disneyland to Fifth Avenue in New York City. But perhaps most importantly, she's the mother of my child, who you just saw. This is Ariel Eckstein.
Hi, everybody. And my partner in crime over here is the author of 16 books that range in subject matter from memoir to middle grade fiction and from sports to reference. And his first book was a national bestseller. One of his most recent books was on the cover of the Sunday New York Times Book Review. And many of his books have been optioned by Hollywood for movies and television. And perhaps most importantly, he is the father of my child.
It's the same kid.
Same kid you saw that. And this is David Sterry. And
David Henry Sterry.
Pardon me, Dad.
You don't mind.
So we're excited to have you all
we
here
are.
and to read these pitches and get you some feedback on them. Some of you may have participated in the NaNoWriMo live Pitchapalooza, which was a blast, as it always is.
Yeah,
And there may even be a repeat pitch.
Yeah, so this recording will be available in the future. Use the same URL you're using now. The chat box on the right here is for other participants to ask questions. It should be archived, but if there's anything you need in there, link or whatever, copy it and paste it just in case. If it freezes, refresh and then close other applications. We just started a YouTube channel, which we're very excited about. So if you feel like watching videos on every aspect of publishing, we're proud of these videos.
Yeah, and what we're doing is every week we're uploading on new topics that people give us the subjects for. So if you have something that you'd like to hear about, put it, either email us or put it in the comment section. And if you subscribe to the channel, they will show up in your inbox when they appear.
Yeah, they will. All right, Soul.
Any other announcements that Christy has?
It.
We're good.
Oh, a newsletter. We have a newsletter. Go to our website if you want to become part of that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Got to get to the first pitch.
Let's get to the first pitch. So we're going to read these pitches and we're going to then critique them in a kind and gentle way. Okay. First up, Mirage by Lisa J. Soul. Young twins Janice and James Kapinski play freely under the desert sun of Tucson, but are shadowed by loss. After their father is killed in Vietnam, Janny and Jimmy continue living with their grieving mother in Arizona until another tragedy occurs. Uprooted east with their guardian Kirby, the twins decipher their new lives amidst turbulent times, struggling for individuality, overcoming shame, establishing relationships with the baggagement of abandonment, and redefining family with patience and humor. If war is hell, where does the wake of war reside? What happens to a child who experiences loss in the most horrific of ways? What dark secrets will be uncovered along the way? Mirage is a 30-year saga narrated by siblings who tell their story about coming to terms with the past, what they sacrifice and gain during their journey together. The reader will become quickly engaged with the characters and their forever bond. Similar to Miller's Valley by Anna Quindlen, or Whisper Beach by Shelley Noble. It's a story about family loyalty. With a BS in family/child development and an MS in human services, I've worked with families and children for over 30 years with issues of abuse, addiction, mental illness, and PTSD. As an empath, I have the ability to voice those who are voiceless. I published articles, photographs, and poems, and have a prominent social media presence. This is my first novel. I think this would make a great Netflix series with Jake Gyllenhaal as Kirby.
Excellent.
Well done. A lot of stuff, a lot of information in this pitch, which is great. And, everybody loves a story of they're twins, right? Yeah, twins.
Absolutely. So I think, you're writing about territory that is very fertile and wonderful for character development and for stakes and all of these things. But David said a really important word when he was just talking about the pitch, and that is information.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what the pitch is filled with. And for a novel, information is not so much what we need in a pitch. We need voice, action, character, a sense of plot, which we get some of.
Yeah.
But when you said 30-year saga, the part of the pitch that's oriented to story doesn't give us any hint of that. I thought it could even be a children's book, a middle grade novel or a YA novel. We're not sure how old these kids are. So that's to me where the next draft of this pitch has to go, into the storytelling. Yeah, thank you. And away from telling us what the book is about.
Let me give you an example. Decipher their new lives amidst turbulent times. I don't know what that means exactly. Struggling for individuality. Well, everyone does that. How is this different? Overcoming shame. That's an idea. Establishing relationships with the baggage of abandonment. What baggage? Redefining family with patience and humor. Well, see, anytime someone tells me that there's humor, I immediately, I rebel against that internally, because anybody can say, oh, there's humor here, or I'm funny. That's the easiest thing in the world to say, but it's very hard to make me laugh. I didn't see anything that remotely resembled a laugh anywhere in this.
In fact, it seems very filled with pathos.
Dark, yes.
Yeah. So
which I would love to see make me laugh.
If there is humor, that's terrific.
You should try it out,
it should come into the voice. Your credentials are fantastic.
Great. Comp titles, fantastic.
And I don't know what you mean by a prominent social media presence, but
you need to
any kind of numbers associated with that would be helpful. So I think this is a great starting point.
Yes, it is.
And now you need to get to give us more of that storytelling and specificity.
Absolutely.
Okay. Family Resemblance, A Father's Stroke, A Daughter's Brain Tumor by Katherine Gove. I'm writing to request your representation of my 60,000-word memoir. As the youngest of 9 children, I use a series of real but inflated injuries and illnesses from broken bones to migraine headaches to gain my mother's attention. But when unexplained epilepsy that feels like an electrical storm of dread surges through my body, it becomes my secret. I see these spells that feel something like deja vu as my possible madness and hide them for 8 years. When I finally come clean at the age of 22, I am diagnosed with a brain tumor, and the effects never stop echoing through my life. A few years later, seeing my father's brain destroyed by a stroke, it is as if he is living the life I was spared. I finally find my place in my family and see that we all bring more to the world than our weaknesses. Family Resemblance, A Father's Stroke, A Daughter's Brain Tumor combines Brain on Fire with My Stroke of Insight. It covers epilepsy, stroke, and migraine, 3 of the most common neurological conditions. The reader is also taken on a journey into the temporal lobe, which can manufacture olfactory hallucinations, premonitions, and out-of-body experiences, all of which I experienced. An essay based on this story, The Smell of Lilacs, was published in the anthology and was the inspiration for the memoir. Excerpts of the memoir have recently been published in online journals, and I've published numerous essays about my family in anthologies over the past 10 years. For 20 years, I have worked in healthcare and have helped tell the stories of individuals like those in my book through my writing, public relations, and marketing efforts.
Well, first of all, I'm sorry that all this stuff happened to you.
Yep.
Of course, the good news is you've got a lot of great fodder for a memoir. I too have had terrible, ridiculous things happen to me, and I too turned them into not one but two memoirs so far, with another couple probably on the way. So it's a fascinating subject, the juxtaposition of your dad. My father, by the way, has been, his brain was destroyed by stroke. So, you know, just the fact that, you know, I'm here and this happened to me, there's so many people who will relate to this. I think it's something that will find an audience.
Yeah.
That being said, you know, the whole idea of the malady memoir is a very difficult proposition at this point. And I'll let you talk about that.
So memoir is what we called on a crowded shelf of the bookstore. And what that means is that there's not a lot of holes in what people have not written about. And illness is a topic that publishers at a certain point bought a lot of books that are illness related, and a very small percentage of them did well.
In other words, a gigantic percentage of them didn't do well.
Right. So this made publishers very wary of taking on new illness memoirs.
And honestly, we get a cancer memoir or a stroke memoir, or, you know, every single day, it seems like we get another pitch for one of these in.
Right.
So there is an audience.
Oh, there's absolutely an
question.
audience. And as David can attest to, you know, as a migraine sufferer with father with stroke, you're hitting a lot of points that a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
What really needs to happen with a memoir today to be sold successfully is that it has to be a combination of incredible writing and unique story. And the thing that I see here that I think is unique and really interesting is that you faked illness as a child and then came to have an illness later in life. There's an interesting memoir out right now by a woman named Gail Brandeis that has a similar set of themes to it that I would check out if I were you. So I think there definitely is something here, and you obviously have had a lot of success as a writer because you've had things published. Again, on the voice front, this frames the memoir perfectly. Like, you've got all the structure there, but in terms of the beauty of the writing, I'm not quite at the point. We like to say that a pitch is like a poem where every word counts. I'm not sure this has hit the poetry. It's not quite a poem yet.
No, it's also your audition to show us what a beautiful writer you are, and how you can sling words and create characters and situations in an economical way. And I don't think this is the best writing you've ever done. I would almost guarantee that. Now, there's two things I'm going to say. Instead of telling us that you use a series of real but inflated injuries and illnesses, why don't you start by showing us that? Mommy, my tummy hurts. Mommy, my leg's broken. You know, and these are all fake, of course. So that we see this, and eventually, I'm sure your mother says, "Oh, quit belly aching," because you know you're the kid who cried wolf. And so again, specificity. And then in the third paragraph down, you say temporarily, which can manufacture olfactory hallucinations, premonitions, and out-of-body experiences, all of which I experienced.
Yeah.
Now, you telling me that you experienced this, not quite so interesting as you showing me what an amazing writer you are and can give me that experience here in the pitch.
Did you smell fire in the middle of the night while in bed? You know, did you have a premonition that, you know, your cat was going to die?
Christmas past come and talk to you about your sins.
That kind of specificity will get us so involved in the pitch, and that's where it becomes more poem-like.
And also, there's not really so much of a plot here. This is more like a setup for a book. And we need to see like a couple more pieces of action. Then this happened, then escalating, this happened, and finally, oh my God, this happened. So we get if I'm an agent or a publisher or a reader for that matter, I want to know more about what the actual story of this is rather than just the setup of it.
I do want to say that when reading this, it did do the thing that we want every pitch to do, which is that I want to know more.
Yeah, I want to know more. I do too.
So,
I do too.
So
it succeeded in that way.
You really, you obviously have something here. We just want you to refine. Okay.
Okay. Don't do as you are told. How I found myself getting lost in Africa by Anne Hudak. I landed in Freetown, Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone?
Sierra Leone.
On a hot July evening in 1990. I'd spent my entire senior year at the University of Dayton in Ohio planning this journey, convincing people I could volunteer in Africa, cajoling them into financial support or offering connections that could help me once I arrived. I had created my own Peace Corps, as my father said, since I didn't want to go to Africa with any government or religious affiliation. True to my independent and stubborn nature, I wanted to do this on my own. And now, here I was, totally alone and terrified, drained of all my confidence. I stared wide-eyed at the sea of people wearing colorful robes and headscarves. I couldn't be further from my hometown of Greensburg, PA. This was the beginning of my journey from small-town girl to global citizen. If only I could survive the year ahead. What I didn't know was that the rebels were congregating on the border of Liberia and soon would unleash one of the most deadly civil wars Africa had seen. Don't Do As You Were Told, How I Found Myself Getting Lost in Africa, is a 45,000-word coming-of-age travel memoir. This book is What Color Is Your Parachute? Meets Out of Africa. It sits on the shelf alongside Jeffrey Gettleman's Love Africa.
So this pitch really got going for me when you said, and now here I was totally alone and terrified, drained of all my confidence. So that all of a sudden has very high stakes attached to it. So I'd like to get there more quickly. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you why also I want you to get there more quickly, is that I want to know more about Africa. So like, how does the bump us up against small town girl from Pennsylvania in Sierra Leone? Give us those tastes and smells and, meeting just a few things here and there so we can understand what it was like and why you were terrified. And the other piece of it is we need to see a little bit more of the growing confidence.
Yeah.
Because that is what, if you're positing that this is a memoir version of What Color Is Your Parachute, we need to see you find the passion. So you can't just go from scared to a war is brewing and that's my book. Any of you is what is the hook to this.
We need more word pictures of Africa. You need to make this, you need to prove to me that you can make this continent come alive for me in a way that I haven't seen yet. Because lots of white people, and here I am assuming, did you say you're a white person?
We know Anne, I know she is.
How white is she? She's white as me? Probably not. So we said there's been thousands and thousands and thousands of books about white people going to Africa and describing it for us. And the only thing we get are people wearing colorful robes and headscarves. Well, I can go to my Saturday market and there's many people wearing colorful robes and headscarves there. Well, maybe not robes, but headscarves. So I need more word pictures from Africa. Show me that you can make this continent come alive for me. And to me, the pitch didn't really get started until the deadly civil wars, the Liberia. And that's literally the end of the pitch. Like, you spend so much of your time showing us how you got there, which is not nearly as interesting as being there. So
but here's what I think is interesting about getting there, is that you kind of had like big eyes, like, I'm going to do this. I'm not doing it with the Peace Corps. And you're like jumping in full force. And then you get there and you're like, oh my God, what did I do? So that's a good setup.
That is good.
I think that's good. But then, as David is saying, once you get there, there's war, there's whatever you what you get, malaria, whatever are the forces coming at you, and the lack of cultural knowledge.
Right.
How does that make the journey so difficult? And then give us a sense of how you grow within that community.
Again, it's a question of plot, a series of events that happen
Right.
that reveal character, and there's action and suspense and stakes and all that stuff.
Yeah, and it's a fish out of water story. I don't know that Out of Africa for me is the best comp.
Yeah.
For a number of reasons, but the kind of colonial. I mean, I haven't read that in a really long time, but
Well,
I believe
Meryl Streep is in the movie. I know that.
I think there are colonial overtones that you may not want to associate yourself with, though I could
Did
be
you ever
wrong.
read What Color's Your Parachute?
Sure.
I thought that was like
It's a how-to book.
It's a how-to book, but
Yeah.
this isn't even remotely
But-
a how-to book.
Yeah, but this
about
is a
finding
book
your
about
passion.
finding your passion.
But it's weird that I don't know. It seems weird to me that
I don't mind that if it's
I mind
if it. Well,
that's just me. She's the agent.
I'm just going to say I know a lot more about this category than you do. So
That is true. If it was me, I'd listen to her, not me. But
yeah.
wait a minute. If I was me, I'd listen to her, not me. Wow, that's
So
psychologically
anyway, yeah, there is also I just wondered what was the title?
Don't do as you are told.
I love the subtitle, How I Found Myself by Getting Lost
Yeah,
in Africa.
I love
that is fantastic.
Great. Really good.
I don't know that Don't Do As
Yeah,
You Are Told is getting me to
no.
what the heart of the book
It
is.
didn't grab me.
So, and I know, Anne, from the discussions that I've seen around your title, that, you know, there are lots of different suggestions there, but I'm not sure that this is the one. Okay. Where are we? Right here. Let me just skip the next
there
page.
are people live chatting.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought the live chat thing was over.
No, but ours doesn't work on that. Okay. The Smart Drug Masochist by Beth Elliott. A lesbian vampire with a death wish. World-weary, opportunistically pansexual road warriors. A transsexual woman who gets the lesbian girl but loses her non-binary friends. For starters. That's funny. Characters in The Smart Drug Masochist experimental erotic fiction collection go from familiar points A to unexpected points B via erotic journeys with their own internal logic. These range from Southern Gothic to space opera, from conventionally lesbian to polyamorously perverse, some turning kink or trans conventions inside out. Women's erotica curator Lynx Cannon's take, quote, "You are working in a fascinating, powerful place where few or none dare to go. The intersection between sex/desire and lesbian social protocols. I would not call this erotica, although there are definitely very hot bits. I would call it social observation that does not shy away from frank writing about sex. In the gray area between romance/darling/love, there's something weird here. In the gray area, you forever and zipless fuck is where most of us live. Am I missing?
Love you forever should be one phrase.
Oh,
There you go.
love you forever and zipless fuck is where most of us live. You write about the negotiations, the unspoken or explicit demands, the unintended consequences of sex with a voice that's urgent and fearless. For us not in the queer community, it feels like a privileged entree to that world. I'd imagine that to some in the community, your writing is transgressive and incorrect, but for others, it's real. And you do all this with a sometimes dry, sometimes sly wit that allows the reader to relax and enjoy. From a published novelist, biographer, and newspaper columnist, this collection is like Susie Bright meeting the grown-up in the bedroom and going tilt.
So, very interesting subject matter. I am a little leery. Oh, so there's definitely a market for this book, and there's publishers that I know would be interested if it lives up to the promise that you've made here for us. Now, I'm a little leery, as I was going to say, about a pitch, which is, I would say, almost 3/4 of it is a blurb from somebody else talking about the book. I don't know how you felt about that.
I totally agree. I mean, I might take one tiny section from that.
Out of that, because I want to know. I want to see your writing. You haven't convinced me enough writer to pull all this off.
Also, I'm not seeing in your writing. There's nothing sexy.
No.
We got to see, as David said, you know, don't tell us it's humorous, make us laugh. Don't tell us that this is, you know, sexy.
Get us hot.
Right. Exactly.
It's like
so
those people that wear those T-shirts that say sexy on them. Let me be the judge of that if you don't mind.
So we need like a scene, something, a couple scenes to show different scenarios here.
Yes.
And, you know, it does sound like you are on the cutting edge, which is always it can have its
it's a blessing.
It's a blessing and a curse. Yeah. I think
I can attest to.
Yes, as David can attest to. In the world of erotic fiction, there is a place for those on the cutting edge. There are publishers that want to do that.
And we know some of them quite well, actually.
Yeah.
What's her name?
It literally is gone out of my head.
Oh my God. What is her name? Radcliffe.
Damn,
that was good. Just pulled that right out of the ether. Yeah, so I mean, I'm glad that Lynx Cannon, who I have no idea who she is, and I operate in this world sometimes. I don't know who she is, and I'm glad that, you know, that she has so many nice things to say about you. But as I'm with Ariel, I want this to take like 2 sentences out of this giant paragraph because it's the bulk of your pitch, and it's hot.
You want me to turn it off?
Please. We have a fire behind us, and show us some of this stuff. You're telling me, but you're not showing me. Make it come to life from me. I'm interested in the world-weary, opportunistically pansexual road warrior. I don't even really know quite what that means. So I want you to show me one of those people. And I go, oh my God, I must buy this book when I see the thing itself.
Mm-hmm.
¿Está bueno?
Yep.
Okay. Singing, Body and Soul by Barbara J. Simon. I sing great in the shower. Quote, I sing great in the shower, unquote. Yeah, you and everybody else. Why is that? When you take your morning shower, you've just woken up and feel relaxed. Perhaps you can remember snatches of your dream. You feel safe and secure. You're naked, hot, wet, and breathing in dense steam. All these elements contribute to singing well in the shower. My book, Singing, Body and Soul, is a textbook for young singers aged 14 and up, and is endorsed by Stephen Flaherty, the Tony-winning composer of Ragtime. It covers the artistic and scientific aspects of singing in a way that teenagers can quickly understand. Topics include, when should I breathe? Choices about breathing can add meaning to the music. The mating call, thinking about the voice as part of the reproductive system.
Wow.
That's very interesting. Why are there so many love songs? Silly little love songs. We quote Paul Simon. That's my own. Why are there so many love songs? Character is revealed as people negotiate for love. As a singing teacher and coach, my students have performed in the Metropolitan Opera Children's Chorus as a national winner of the Collegiate A Cappella Awards and on tour with Little Steven and the Disciples of Soul. Barbara, well done.
So
we heard this pitch before.
Yes, we have.
And it's much better than it was.
Yeah.
Like it's taken an incremental leap.
Yep.
From quite good to really good.
So the beginning is you really
great.
set
I
a
love
scene.
It. Yeah, you do.
The thing is that I find it slightly confusing because I'm not sure how it ties in to a book about singing that's specifically for teenagers. So to me, it sounded to me like you were going to say a great way to sing is to be naked and
full of steam,
whatever. And maybe you do tell your teenage students that. I'm not sure, but it took a left turn for me. I loved the specificity of it.
That was great.
But I'm not sure if that's the specific example.
Segue, or you're saying you need a new example.
It might need a different, very specific example.
I don't know. I think it's really a really nice example. I think it needs a segue.
Okay.
From there to the sort of meat and potatoes of what the book actually is.
Yeah.
Now I really like the bullet points. When should I breathe? The mating call. Why are there so many love songs? maybe I would have a couple more of those. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the mating call, again, I don't understand it. It's interesting to me, but I'm back to the naked singing in the shower.
Right.
So the thing that separates this book about other books about singing, there are other books about how to sing and everything, is that this is for teenagers. And to me, the teenage thread is what is lost in this. I don't understand what makes this a book for teenagers, and that's what I would like to know.
Yeah.
So I like, I think the book, all the elements are interesting.
They are.
But I don't understand how that specific hook, which is a good one, is played out in your book.
And is this more about sort of freeing up the voice as opposed to the, the sort of mechanical aspects of singing? I studied vocal stuff for a while, and the guy was always like, have your jaw hang loose, like a very mechanical thing, a physiological thing. And this seems more about like freeing up the soul so the voice can come out, or is it both? I guess I would like to know the answer to those questions. If I'm a teacher or a parent who wants their kid to know how to sing, I would like the answer to those questions.
Me too. All right. Wait, that's okay.
Yeah.
Here we go. Patty Peppernuff's Stuff by Barbara James. Meet Patty Peppernuff, a 10-year-old stuff collector who doesn't know what to do about her growing accumulation of things. Perky Patty Peppernuff used to have all kinds of stuff. Her house was filled with many things, from giant bears to tiny rings. As her stuff pile grew and grew, Patty wondered what to do. She wouldn't give her stuff away, but now there was no place to play. Patty's stuff collecting continues until she is overwhelmed by all of her possessions. She eventually figures out that never giving things away has uncomfortable consequences. Join Patty as she learns to let go of her stuff and finds great happiness in helping others.
Patty Peppernuff. Such a fun name for a kid's book. It is a fun
name.
I can just see like the little doll the merchy doll that you sell. So this is about a child hoarder, which I think that's a hole in the market. I haven't seen that book, the child hoarder book. And you can't get people started too early on this idea of hoarding. But don't. No, you're not a hoarder. Well, I'm a hoarder. I am a hoarder. But I'm trying to,
You're a collector.
I'm a collector. Thank you. Thank you. So it's a cool idea for a book. I like it.
I think the thing that's really cool, which we have tried to impress upon our daughter, is that it's really nice to give things away. Yes. That is important. Yes. So I think that's a really terrific message.
Great lesson for anybody, but a kid in particular. Yes.
So for me, knowing the kids market quite well, you have a 10-year-old character in what seems to be a straight up picture book.
Yes. That
would be for the 3 to 6-year-old range.
Right.
And that is an odd age for a picture book to center around.
A 10-year-old.
A 10-year-old.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So then you're getting into what we call middle grade territory. And this sounds like a rhyming picture book.
Yeah.
So I think if I were you, I would lower that age down to 6 or 7 tops. And for this kind of book, I also would like to know about you. Are you a clinical psychologist?
Right.
Are you
a hoarder? Hoarder.
Reformed hoarder, exactly. An educator, a librarian,
whatever.
Why are you writing this book?
Yes. I also we get these pitches from picture books where the whole pitch is basically in rhyme. It's weirdly like there's this prejudice against rhyming in the world of kids' books. I don't understand it myself. However, it exists. So we have to, warn you about this. And then to have many of the lines are in rhyme, and then all of a sudden they're not in rhyme. So,
well, then it goes back to just the pitch itself. It would have been helpful to have those in italics.
It was
or
very
something.
jarring to me I kept waiting for you to rhyme possessions. And of course, it's not that, that then we're done with that. So yeah, if it was me, I would start with, quotes around a little bit from the book and then pull back and say, this is the story about Patty who collects this and that and the other, and give us a more, idea of what's going to happen in the book. And I don't know, you have a lot more time here. How many words? It's like, 70 words in this, and you have 250 words. So you have a lot more room to tell us. And I need to know more stuff about this if I'm an agent, publisher, or reader in order to, there's a gigantic slew of kids' books. And, why am I going to buy this one? I don't know enough about it yet to plop down my money. So there seems to be a little bit missing in how she comes to the realization that there's a great happiness in helping others. The uncomfortable consequence. I don't even know what that means. I mean, I know that there are many uncomfortable consequences for many people, but how is yours different from all the others?
Great.
Okay.
I've got a few.
Marie, A Child of Long Ago Finland by Barbara Giacometti. Giacometti?
Yeah, like the sculptor.
Giacometti.
No.
Giacometti. It was 1897. Marie stared at the ship as it was leaving the harbor. Her little hand was still waving, but her eyes had filled to the brim with tears, making it hard to see. Her body began trembling. Silent sobs were keeping her from standing still. Open quote. Why, Auntie, why are Papa and Mama leaving me? Why can't I go with them? I miss them already. Close quote. Marie was sobbing uncontrollably, and now her heart felt as though it had cracked into many pieces. Open quote. Shh, my sweet child. Your Papa and Mama will come back to you someday soon. They are sailing to America, a new country far away from Finland. Close quote.
Wow. So this is a wonderful example of someone really setting a scene and giving us a sense of this little girl.
Yeah,
and
the stakes are high.
Exactly.
I feel for this kid, man.
Me too.
And why would anyone leave Finland for America? I mean, Finland's a great place.
So that is wonderful. I would not call this a pitch.
Not a pitch.
It seems to me that this is probably taken directly from the manuscript itself.
It's a great setup for a story.
It's a wonderful setup, and I think part of it can be used in the pitch.
No question.
But then, as David said, we need to pull the camera back and understand where we're going with this story.
What happens to this girl?
Is it a kid's book? Is it an adult book?
Right.
If it's a kid's book, for what age group? I can't answer
what are the
any of those.
Titles
yeah.
for this book?
Yeah.
And what happens to the kid? We need to know a little bit of the action that's going to plot, that's going to, hook us. And, event. I keep saying this. Consequences get higher. The craziness escalates.
Yeah.
That now, this is a great start. Now to fill in those details, and it's a cool idea.
Absolutely. All right. Lightning, Contemporary Romance, Book 1 in Stormy Romance series by E.V. Valentine. It never fails. When a gal's life starts rocking, trouble from the past comes knocking. Tori dedicates her life to social work with the local VA in a small Tennessee town in the foothills of the Smoky Mountains. By her 30th birthday, she's ready for a do-over, leaving behind her broken-hearted past and starting anew. Tori's plans are thrown off course when she ends up in an accidental lip lock with her ex-boyfriend, Nick, her first true love disaster. Nick is fighting his own demons after his twin is killed in action and seeks redemption by bringing his dead brother's service dog back from Iraq. Tori wants nothing to do with Nick, but he insists on knowing why she disappeared on him years ago. To make matters worse, Tori's ex-fiancé Wyatt is back too. After dumping her to pursue his medical career, he now wants a second chance. Both men shattered her heart, and one of them will do so again. Just when Tori thought she'd graduated from Love School of Heartbreak, she is back in class again. All she needs to figure out is if learning to love again is worth the pain. All she needs to figure out is if learning to love again is worth the pain it might take to get there. Lightning is an 80,000 word adult contemporary romance that will appeal to fans of Emily Griffin's Love the One You Are With and the works of Danielle Steele. Author Evie Valentine is a proud legal immigrant woman, mother, and domestic abuse survivor who still believes in true love.
Nice.
That is a terrific
Really
pitch.
fantastic pitch. We talk about voice.
Yeah.
It has so many cool, right from the beginning.
Yeah.
You got the starts rocking and knocking. I mean, you take that sort of cliche and make it all your own in a new way. That's really cool. And there's she graduates from the just when she thought she graduated from Love School of Heartbreak. She's back in class again. I mean, it's really great
so
copy.
good.
It's fantastic.
And also the structure of the pitch.
Yeah, it's right.
How much you tell us, how much you don't tell us, and you obviously know the genre.
Yes.
Because you romance has particular tropes.
Yes.
And certain caricatures.
Yes.
More than almost more than characters.
Right.
And you hit those so well.
Such a great love triangle.
It's a great, and I love the fact that it's two former boyfriends vying for. I think it's just terrific.
And one of the things I love that you do is both men shattered her heart, and one of them will do so again.
That's so great.
It's so good because it's always a question in a pitch and in a book. What do you reveal? What do you conceal? I feel like you just hit it right on the head there. So you give us this information that, terrible things are going to happen, but I'm not going to tell you what yet.
Now, one thing that I do wonder about that could just add a little something extra, maybe not, is you say you're a proud legal immigrant. I'm wondering if that issue comes into the book at all, because that would make it very of the moment.
Yeah.
It would add a little something. This fits perfectly in kind of old school romance, but to make it something that's right now, if our main character is an immigrant or someone else is, might be something that you would want to put in there. I thought your bio was terrific. Like it made me want to know who you are. So this is really well done. And the setting is good too. Small town Tennessee, like that's a cool thing in and of itself. So
well done. Okay, Electric Impulse by Angel Hilson. A starry-eyed college girl plagued with abandonment issues is dumped the day before graduation, and later discovers the potential for love with an older, more sexually experienced businessman. 22-year-old Aria Davenport is a girl with a plan. Meet the family, graduate, get engaged. Then it's on to happily ever after. But when she shows up at her boyfriend's posh family gathering, expecting to take their relationship to the next level, all she gets is dumped and humiliated. Blindsided by his betrayal, she's left questioning everything she thought she knew. She graduates the very next day, her life in shambles. Trust is definitely an issue. First her dad, now her college sweetheart. No one seems to stay. So when Phoenix Prescott, a Forbes-celebrated real estate entrepreneur and a VIP client at Aria's club, keeps bumping into her outside of work, she puts up her walls. But he's persistent, and his fun-loving, gregarious personality is infectious. He eventually wins her over. She's back on that carousel of love, and it's thrilling. But his secrets and her insecurities, maybe their ruin. Dun, dun, dun. Electric Impulse is a standalone adult contemporary romance completed at 90,000 words with series potential. An early version of this novel was posted on Wattpad.com, where it ranked #1 on the Chick Lit Hot List, garnered near 700,000 reads. Let me say that again, 700,000.
That's awesome.
And grew a loyal fan base. I've earned degrees in English literature and African American studies from Marquette University with a minor in Spanish language and culture. My experience includes working as a digital merchandise writer for over 5 years at Kohl's Corporation. I am a member of RWA, the Romance Writers of America.
I would like to say that both this author and the previous author,
romance is back to back.
They knew your category,
genre.
Adult contemporary romance. Both of these are squarely in that category,
Totally.
And it shows me that you know what you're doing. And being a member of RWA, is seriously important. In fact, our previous
Yeah.
author, if you're not a
Evie
member,
Valentine.
if you're not a member of RWA, you should sign up
Right
now.
now.
It means something to people when they
Does.
read that in a bio. So I think for me, I would lose the first paragraph entirely because you tell us what's going to happen and then you
don't
tell
need
us.
to tell us
So
because
just
you show us in a minute.
exactly. So 22. Now, I thought this was like a well done pitch. You know how to set it up, how to give a sense of plot of everything. The one thing I didn't feel in this pitch is that I don't really know Arya.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have that. I didn't fall for her in the way that we need to. I don't have a sense of her character. Does she have a sense of humor? Is she, her fragility? How does that manifest?
The only thing we know is that she's been jilted in love and is, or she's leery of commitment because she's been betrayed.
Right, but we don't know how that manifests in her character.
Yeah, no, I'm saying I totally agree with you. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I'm saying that's the only thing we know about her.
Exactly.
And that's just like the subject of so many books and stories. We want something that's familiar and unique. I feel like it's a little bit too much familiar and not quite enough unique.
I agree.
Here.
I agree. Yeah, but I think it's really close. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you're a very good writer. Yeah.
Okay.
No question.
Lucy Rising by Tony Astor Gordon. It's been said that the devil is in the details, but what if we've gotten those details all wrong? It turns out that Lucifer is nothing anyone expected. She's soft and kind and hell-bent on saving humanity from the sadistic God that she still loves.
That's good.
After losing to him in ancient history, she's raised from hell in modern times and gathers a ragtag team to relaunch her campaign in modern times, with angels, prophets, witches, cult members, and even a demon or two. They run a revolution from a small apartment, fighting against time and the whole host of heaven to finally finish what she started. Will she win the war, or will she be destroyed by her father once and for all? This time, not even the Lord knows.
Nice.
that great voice.
Yeah, it's really well written.
It's and good, really good twists. The devil, that it's a woman, and that she's good, and all of these kinds of things I think are really terrific. For me, this is a pitch where I really want to understand the comp titles, comparable books, because I have no idea how literary or commercial
it seems
this
Christopher
book is.
Morey to me.
That would be on the literary side.
Well, he's not that literary, I wouldn't say. He's a commercial writer.
Okay.
He combines comedic elements with the supernatural.
Yeah.
More than being a great literary figure.
Yeah.
So her goal, the devil, I just love that. We're saying that we want things that are familiar yet unique. Well, the devil is one of the most familiar characters ever in every culture. And yet you that's something with Lucifer that's so interesting and unique that I've never seen before, from Mephistopheles on. So she's trying to save humanity. Now, I love that idea, but I don't quite understand how exactly she's doing that. What steps is she taking? She's gathered this really cool crew. I get that. They run the revolution from an apartment, but what exactly are they doing? Are they, I don't know. I mean, if I'm an agent, I'm a publisher, an editor, like I want to know.
And this is very short. There's a lot more room
time.
to
Are they going out and doing pranks? Are they trying to save individuals? Are they holding, seances, marches? I don't know what the action of the book is and how things go off the rail.
I agree.
But it's fantastic.
It's so
idea.
fun.
I love it.
Yeah. Is this me or you?
I think it's me.
It's you.
Stranger in Town by Tanya Perry. It's 1933, and even before mysterious newcomer Brandon Collins arrives in Hurstville with threats of relocating non-white property owners to a less desirable and visible section of the small tourist town, 23-year-old Lorena Thompson has troubles of her own, including guilt over her partner brother's death and helping her father maintain their sprawling ranch. As her father's health rapidly declines, Lorena must overcome her insecurities and make a life-altering journey to seek her estranged mother's help and decide if she can trust a stranger who is trying his best to steal both her heart and her land.
Wow. So I love the setting and the issue at hand of relocating non-white property owners. I think that's really interesting territory.
And very timely.
Very timely. Like. The thing is, it wasn't clear to me until the last line that Lorena is not white.
Right.
That somehow in the setup of that sentence, it's not clear that that her family is one of these property owners that are trying to be pushed off their land. So I think that it's a very long first sentence.
Okay, let me just jump in there with that. I mean, this sentence, there's like 17 ideas in it. I can't remember where I am at the end.
That's part of the problem. I
mean, you introduce the mysterious newcomer, the idea of relocating non-whites into the less desirable parts of town. So the relocation, the part of town, those are two other ideas. You introduce our heroine in the middle of the sentence. That's what we call burying the lead. She should be, if she's the hero, she should start the pitch.
And her troubles.
And there's the guilt.
Her brother's death.
Her troubles. The brother's death.
I think you get the
idea. And her father's sprawling ranch. There's 7 ideas in one gosh darn sentence.
Yeah.
They're all great ideas. They're fantastic ideas, but each one of them should almost have their own sentence, it feels like.
Yeah.
And again, there's too much generality at the end of it. Must overcome her insecurities. I don't know what that means. Everybody, I mean, how many insecurities have there been in how many books? How is yours different? Life-altering journey. I mean, that seems like a cliche to me. And you have such wonderful specificity before this. You've set the bar pretty high, and then the bar sort of gets lowered a little bit. I mean, there's 2 sentences in this whole pitch.
I'd also like to know where Hurstville is. What part of the country is that in? I think that would be important.
So this stranger is trying to steal her heart? I didn't.
Well, it's that he's trying to take her property, but he's in love with her, is what I'm assuming.
That comes out of the blue.
It does.
It feels like I was like, what? Huh? It jarred, and not in a good way.
Okay. Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. And this is another case where I would like to know a little bit more about the author. I think this is such a cool idea.
I do too. Yes.
And what brought you here? I would be interested to know. Does your family history have anything like this, or
are you a person of color?
Because part of the thing about even if you're writing fiction, if there's some kind of publicity or marketing effort that, imagine yourself getting on the Today Show or The View or whatever, like, what's the story behind the story?
Yeah.
For anyone, if there's a good story behind the story, that's going to help get your work out into the world.
And in this era of cultural appropriation, we want to make sure that you have the bona fides to write a story that's genuine and is not latching on to another person's culture to exploit.
Right.
I mean,
like if you're a white author writing this, it's a little bit problematic.
Yes. So if you're a English lady trying to write the story, that would be no good.
Yeah. Okay.
Probably.
Excellent. Finding America by Elizabeth Tidwell. Roy and Jerry are advertising executives who cannot endure another presidential election cycle. They create their own campaign, the most outlandish ever, featuring nobody at all.
At all.
At all. Public present costume completely hides his identity, as nobody leads a learning on the job group under the banner of the Independent Party, FAIR. They are finding America through interactive responsibility. The campaign's success rests largely on a new social media system, Welcome. It invites everyone, supporters, undecideds, opponents, even ineligibles to vote, to exchange ideas in a high-tech environment of algorithms and stringent rules. A large network of community headquarters proposes issues and events to meet the ultimate goal, not so much winning as providing a safe and civil forum to unite America. Planning and technique are lightened by exploits, antics, and a diverse cast that refuses to compromise its ideals. The campaign continues to build momentum against traditional candidates until 4 months before the first Tuesday in November. It ends suddenly and tragically. The author encourages readers to decide what happened to whom, by whom, and why. And she encourages them to determine what happens now as they participate in discussions and choose to continue the lessons of the campaign in their own lives. Finding America combines the satire of Sinclair Lewis's It Could Happen Here with the antics of Primary Colors, while providing tantalizing morsels from a travel buffet. The author has practiced and taught journalism and public relations at several universities, participated in a groundbreaking political campaign, and traveled extensively in the United States and beyond.
There's so much in here that's so good and pertinent and relevant, although I can't really imagine becoming overwhelmed by a presidential election cycle. Can you? I love it. I mean, it's really such a fascinating idea. The whole, the new social media system. I mean, and every time I go on Facebook, there's just these seemingly crazy people yelling names at each other, calling each other foul, horrible things. They're not discussing anything. They're just saying, you're horrible. No, you're horrible. No, you're horrible.
So my issue with this pitch, which is fascinating, is that to me, it's an idea.
Yes, it is an idea.
And not a novel. Story, right? Roy and Jerry disappear.
Who are Roy and Jerry? I don't even know. Who's the hero of the story?
And then the sort of choose your own adventure ending with how are you going to contribute to society really makes me feel like you don't want to write fiction.
Yeah.
You want to write nonfiction and make a point.
Right.
And you're using this guise of fiction. And to write fiction, you have to really care about the story. So that you might, in fact, really care about the story, but that's not what's coming through in the pitch. So I think a choice has to be made here. If you're committed to the story, this needs to be rewritten as story. If you're committed to the nonfiction ideas behind the book, you need to write a nonfiction book.
A very famous impresario of film, Louis B. Mayer, once said, if you want to send a message, use Western Union. Like people don't go to the movies or read a juicy novel for a message. They just don't. We want the message in a novel or a movie that's not a documentary.
Say the Kate DiCamillo story.
Oh yes, so Kate DiCamillo is one of our favorite writers.
She's an award-winning children's book writer.
So we listened to her give a speech, and she goes to a library to make a presentation, and the librarian says, "So I thought maybe we would, when we discuss, there was a discussion, a panel, we would discuss some of the themes in your book." She said, "Oh, are there themes in my book?" She just wrote a story.
These are the deepest books, which of course any critical reader could draw out themes, but that's not how she writes.
No, she doesn't write, oh, I have a theme for my book.
Right.
She's got a story with characters and a plot. And who's the hero of this book? Have I fallen in love with anybody in this book? For a novel to work, it has to have a hero that we love. And when I say hero, I don't mean they do all good things. I mean, Tony Soprano is a great hero. You wouldn't, want to borrow money from him and end up in an alley with him, but he's filled with flaws, and he's somebody we love, even though he's a horrible person. I don't get literally anything about that in this pitch. The ideas are fantastic. I'm with Ariel. Write a novel or
I like the title too a lot.
Yeah, Finding America.
Good.
Yeah, it's really good.
Right.
Very relevant story to today. Paul the Raven by Samantha Brockschmidt. Paul Bloom was not like normal boys. No, normal boys could talk. Instead, Paul could mimic, frighten, and mock everything and everyone he came in contact with, like the ravens from Paul's backyard. These were no ordinary ravens, though. They were the Ravens of Verna, a small Rhode Island town with a century-long dark secret. Now the Ravens have taken Paul under their wing, raising him since birth and preparing him for an unforeseeable future. After a terrible doctor's visit, word about Paul's quote-unquote illness spreads like wildfire, and the Bloom's perfect household comes crashing down. Paul and his family have become shunned by the people of Verna. Amidst blazing gossip, a distancing family, and a growing epidemic of ravens flocking to Paul's aid, strange, horrible things start happening in Verna. But even more terrifying are the robed strangers who've been hunting Paul. Now the only hope keeping Paul alive is the undying love for the girl next door, Fia Maples, and his cherished raven family. Paul is determined to find answers about the robed strangers and how he's connected to the ravens. The Black Coat Ball has requested Paul's attendance with a renowned billionaire offering Paul the social opportunity of a lifetime. He and his family will have to agree. Can Paul find his acceptance and discover his connection to the ravens behind Verna's darkest secret? The Black Coat Ball awaits, and Paul will learn the truth, even if it costs him his life.
Well, this has a really creepy, dark,
yeah, it does. Raven
feeling.
Equality
I love the ravens.
And the ravens are such a fantastic, figure in literature from Poe on.
And I think a great description here is Paul could mimic, frighten, and mock everything and everyone he came into contact with. Now, when you say like the ravens from Paul's backyard, are you saying the ravens can mimic, frighten, and mock everything? That's an unclear sentence. Or can he mimic the ravens?
That was my conclusion, but it was unclear.
Yeah. And when you say that they've been raising him since birth, I assume that they were his family. So then when I learned he actually has a family, that was confusing to me. The other thing is, I have no idea, is this a kid's book or an adult book? Right. I don't know where this fits on the bookshelf. It seems pretty, if it's a kid's book, I would assume it was YA, but I have no idea how old this kid is. Is he a teenager? Is he a young boy? So that information needs to come into play here so we can understand where it fits on the shelf.
Yeah, and the whole love story thing, I mean, it's one sentence that just kind of gets flopped in here about Fia Maples. I need more or less. If you're going to put it in there, you've got to unpack it a little bit for us, because it just went by so fast I didn't have a chance to sort of get emotionally involved in it. I guess I don't quite understand what, in the worst case scenario, what's going to happen. Is the town going to be destroyed? Is Paul going to be destroyed? I don't quite see what horrible thing could happen if everything goes wrong.
Well, he's going to die.
He's going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're saying what I'm saying doesn't make sense.
I guess what I agree with what you're saying is that whatever these people, these bodies, rogue strangers,
and the ravens, I don't know.
We don't know what they're after.
That's more what I'm saying. Yeah,
so I think if we had a sense a little more, you've kept it so cloaked that we don't have enough insight. We don't want all the insight.
No, we were saying about revealing and disclose and keeping information. There's a little bit too much kept information, it feels like, for me. I need more.
Okay. The Fearless by W. Marshall. The twins, Jason and Jacinda, were born on a world where humans aren't the apex predators, the firstborn in generations, and only the strength of a family and honor keep the clans from falling to the dreaded Shadgar. With the Scalds singing legends of twins destined for greatness, enormous pressure is placed on their young shoulders. How can they hope to live up to such vaulted expectations? The impetuous and cavalier Jacinda often leads them into trouble, leaving the calculating Jason to be the voice of reason. Their empathic bond is unbreakable, and through their combined strength, they triumph where so many others fail. Completing their warrior trials is only the beginning. The galaxy at large awaits as they enlist in the eternal army. There, no longer among their own kind, they face betrayal, corruption, and even death as they struggle to adapt to an empire that isn't quite ready for them. Through shifting perspectives among their own people, and then from the outsiders among the rest of the eternal empire, we see how they falter, learn, grow, and eventually overcome. The Fearless is a science fiction novel of approximately 51,000 words and has been thoroughly reviewed by my editor. My science advisor, an actual rocket scientist, also provided invaluable insight. Blending humor with drama to address serious topics and situations, this is a prequel to a trilogy in progress. I have a strong background in English literature and self-published my first fantasy novel, The King's Own, last year.
Okay, so our second set of twins here.
Exactly.
We love the twins.
Yeah.
So is that no? Okay, so yes, the first sentence was a little bit unclear to me. First, let me say what I like about it. I love the twins. I love the the sort of grandeur of this, combined with the specificity of these two warriors in the middle of the story. The twins, Jason and Jacinda, were born in a world where humans aren't the apex predators. Who are the apex predators? Did we find that out?
No,
I'm asking
I think
you.
that's a good first sentence, and I think it should end there.
Yeah, but I want to, if you're gonna posit the fact that humans aren't at the top of the food chain, who is?
But I like the idea of apex predators.
No, I love that.
That's a good one.
I'm right with you. I'm not arguing that that's a bad sentence. I'm arguing that it's not complete. And it left my brain going, well, wait a minute. What are these predators? And how, we've seen many stories where humans are not the
I guess
at the top of the food chain.
Dreaded Shadowguard are. But this sentence is this is another first sentence that is so long with so many ideas. I had no idea what I was reading by the time I got to the end of it. It's actually only 3 lines, but there are way too many ideas introduced so that you can't follow the logic of it.
Who are the clans? So the twins, Jason and Jacinda, were born in a world where humans aren't the apex predators, the firstborn in generations.
I'm assuming they are.
They are, but I don't understand that. How are they the firstborn in generations? And the only strength of family and honor, and only the strength of family and honor, keep the clans. What clans? I don't understand. I'm so confused by the end of this sentence.
Yeah. Yes. So you're in the sci-fi fantasy genre, as you know, and the world building here. We need more. This is a case where, by the way, when David and I write a pitch for one of our own books, we can't write our own pitches because you're so embedded in your own book that it's hard to understand what people need to know, what they don't know, because it's all in your own head.
Yeah, what is a skald? S-K-A-L-D. You just say these words as if we would know what that is.
Yeah.
And the Shadowguard, I mean, it sounds like a cool thing, but do they have 4 heads? Do they have claws? Do they have, I don't understand how this is different from every other crazy beast predator we've seen. And the specificity to that is going to go a long way towards whether you get published or not.
So on the bio part of it, you say that this is a science fiction novel. This to me seems like a fantasy novel, not a sci-fi. So I wasn't even sure why you had a science advisor. So if you had a science advisor, I want to know what cool things, what cool sci-fi stuff is in your book. That would be, if it's in there, that would be great. And I would love that. And then you say blending humor with drama to address serious topics and situations. So we've said this a million times. And it's the quote that David just said, if you want to send a message, use Western Union. Like,
Western Union was a telegram company, by the way, for people who don't know.
We're too young to know.
You used to have to send telegrams to people to give them a message.
Right. It's the equivalent now, sending them a text message, right?
Yes.
So anyway, so I think you're going to leave that out altogether. you know, if you have a background in English literature, I'd like to know what that is. And I don't know if this is a YA novel or an adult novel. 51,000 words for sci-fi fantasy is very small, especially for adult. It's kind of okay for YA novel.
I don't know if I'd put that you self-published your first fantasy.
I would not.
I would not put that in there unless you sold 1 million copies of it. I
would just say this is a novel with series potential.
Right. Isn't that me?
Oh, sorry.
I think I just read it.
Mapping Magic by Claire Chiaraval.
Nice name.
Adventure is a disaster with a happy ending. That's great.
Okay.
A brilliant student cartographer, Evan Hill, sets out to map the previously unexplored continent of Meridon. His native guide, Wick Southwind, a capable princess and river pirate, pulls Evan kicking and screaming into a culture completely different from his own. Evan is shocked to find that magic, which he previously thought impossible, is as common in Meridon as a steam engine back home. When Evan and Wick are attacked by an enemy intent on stealing magical artifacts, they resolve to warn Wick's grandfather, the king. Evan's cautious nature frustrates Wick's bold one, and Wick's swashbuckle first, ask questions never policy is appalling to Evan's logical mind. Navigating floating cities, volcanic archipelagos, and royal family drama, they must examine their own deeply held beliefs to be able to work together to save magic, the monarchy, and their lives. Mapping Magic is an 80,000-word fantasy adventure YA novel that alternates point of view between the two 16-year-old protagonists. The story has the adventurous fun of The Princess Bride with the angst of the Tiffany Aching series. After exploring storytelling as a performer and filmmaker, BA in theater and MFA in film production, I have settled into writing novels to tell stories. I'm a new mom to a charming 10-month-old daughter. I live in Ashland, Oregon. We're jealous. With my similarly charming husband. I have served as a co-chair of Southern Oregon Willamette Writers, Willamette, and I post regularly about storytelling on my website.
We're going to be in Ashland this summer.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, we are going to be in Ashland.
Yeah, we are. We'd love to do something with the Southern Oregon Willamette Writers as well, but that's another story. So cool pitch, well done,
really
well put together, really professional.
I love the name Wick Southwind.
It's fantastic.
Such a good name.
That's a great name. I'm reading Dickens right now, and he's got all these fantastic
it's a very
names.
Dickensian
It
name.
is, and it reminded me of that, and that's high praise.
Yeah.
High praise. So yeah, I mean, you've got all the elements that you need here. And I love that. And you really know how to sling a phrase. Swashbuckle first, ask questions never.
I love that.
It's really, really, really good. And these two characters are they're like the odd couple.
Definitely.
Now, what I didn't get, is there a little romance that goes on? It feels like there probably should be. I mean, if there isn't. But in a YA, you usually have a little bit of that. Did you feel that as well?
Yeah,
Ariana?
I did. I mean, I'm assuming there is.
But I mean, it would help in the pitch if you mention that. If there isn't, you might.
And I love the tagline: "Adventure's disaster with a happy ending." Your film background really showed through.
It's on the poster.
Exactly. Yeah, I thought it was really fun. I think there's some generic stuff that can be pulled out of here and replaced, like navigating floating cities, volcanic archipelagos, and royal family drama. You know, a lot of people do these kinds of lists in pitches, unless the lists are so funny or interesting or weird or unique. They tend to sort of go in one ear and out the other. Yeah. So I would rather replace that like with one crazy scene or something.
Yeah, and who do we get a villain? Who is the villain here? When Evan and Wick are attacked by an enemy. That's all we say about the villain. And that's not...
Use your film background to the preview when the enemy comes on.
Right.
Like there's not just someone who has a coat and you can't see them and they say, "Oh, that's the enemy," but you can't look at who they are or know what they're about.
Yeah, we need a villain as cool as as these other characters in the story.
Exactly.
Okay, Running on Empty, A Zen Carpenter's Tale, a novel by Rico Provasoli. 60-year-old Carl Merrill's life is falling apart. His 3 decades of Zen practice have done nothing to ease the sting of bad luck, failing health, self-loathing, and a sour mood after his prostate surgery went south. His retreat to a Zen monastery careens off track when his daily meditation spins relentless sexual fantasies about a much younger woman working in the kitchen. Should he abandon the cloister as a failed monk who can't even keep his mind on practice? Plastered with his demons in a body cast for 6 months after a work accident, he falls further into despair, ruthless, vitriolic self-hatred spewing from his mind. Peaks of enlightenment come from the least likely people: a nurse intern bathing him, a Russian builder bringing coffee, a teenage boat-building apprentice. His Zen Roshi can't get through Carl Merrill's self-inflicted suffering, but it's the Catholic priest called in to assist Carl's mother at her end-of-life passage who cracks his heart open. Carl finds that giving to others provides relief and self-compassion, the key to ending suffering. In the end, his strategy to avoid the girl turns into a Zen joke on himself. Running on Empty is Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance meets Jack Kerouac and Tom Robbins. Running on Empty is a 58,000-word upmarket fiction directed toward the baby boomer market. It draws on my personal experience as a Zen student since 1966. This is my 3rd work of fiction. So this is a cool idea.
Yeah.
I like how you take the idea of Zen, and he's a little bit of a Job character, which I love. You know, everything that could possibly happen to him.
Zen Job.
Yeah, Zen's Job. Ooh, that's good. See, that's why she gets the big bucks. Yeah, and I love that and it's got a nice twisteroo in the end. Like his Zen Roshi, doesn't get to him, but it's the Catholic.
It would be nice to know. I'm assuming he grew up Catholic, since it's a Catholic priest who's at his mother's deathbed.
Right.
That would be an interesting full circle if he left Catholicism to find himself in Buddhism, only to return in some way to his original faith.
Yeah, that's fun. So I would maybe, just from a technical point of view, break this up into some paragraphs. I mean, you see how it all sort of runs?
I also want to say something voice-wise.
Yeah.
The authors that you are putting in here are the voiciest authors out there.
Explain what you mean by voiciest.
You can hear them talking off the page. It's not generic in any way. They're not just reporting what the story is.
That's what you do here.
And if those are true comp titles for you, I got to see that love of words and wordplay and everything. Yeah, I mean,
Tom Robbins has the most beautiful use of incredible language and poeticness. And, of course, Jack Kerouac had these amazing sort of stream of consciousness rants that go throughout his. None of that is displayed here. And if you're going to use them, then you have to display that.
Like, I just want to see the scene of, like, the nursing intern bathing him, the Russian builder bringing coffee. Like, those were the images that really stuck with me. The stuff where he falls further into despair, ruthless, vitriolic self-hatred spewing from his mind. It's the most common problem. You've heard us say it over and over again, but it's this sort of telling problem. And this has, it's such a great setting.
Yeah.
And to see it is so much more powerful.
Yeah, telling somebody about vitriolic spew is different from actually seeing the vitriolic spew.
Let's see him in the Zen monastery tell someone to go fuck themselves or whatever it is.
In the most poetic way imaginable.
When he's supposed to be, having...
all Zen.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Me or you?
Well, I think I just read that, so it's probably you.
The Painted Word by Gabriella Garlock. 2 young messengers, sort of grad student meets Jedi, travel all the way across the kingdom to help research an heir to the assassinated king and get more than they bargained for when they stumble onto the trail of the king's murderer. Since the women are only novices and far from the capital, they have to make some tough choices fast and all on their own. Ereziel and Malachi each have reasons to be disgruntled and disillusioned about their new careers, and it really doesn't help when a rumor that it was a messenger who killed the king goes viral. Messengers who are traditionally respected are now being harassed and attacked. Malachi is terrified of her own potential. She's lost friends by choosing her studies, and Ereziel is already bitter, chafing, so distracted by sensationalism, they can scarcely tell the difference between hearsay and truth, much less appreciate the value of her education. Caught between politics and a society where new technologies threaten the culture's literacy, the messengers fight to bring everyone back together. But there's more to messenger training than either the politicians or the people even realize. And Ereziel and Malachi find the solutions have been with them all along. The Painted Word is a soft sci-fi for NA or YA, that's new adult or young adult, people don't know, with a medieval feel and the firm belief that the histories of one's language and land have a rich relevance today.
So it's fascinating that it's medieval and yet there's viral things in it.
Yeah. Where's the medieval? That's the question. No, I know. But where's the medieval in here?
That was my question
except for
too.
the king.
Right. And the messengers. I mean, messengers, that was part of the medieval world. If you wanted a message, you had to send a guy who would go on a horse or run.
Right.
So that was missing for me, that how you're going to combine the idea of viral technology with the medieval world. I didn't quite get that. I think it's a really cool idea. And I like the two characters, the messengers.
I love this idea that they're, that Ereziel, if I'm pronouncing that right, chafes at a society so detracted by sensationalism they can scarcely tell the difference between hearsay and truth.
That's
like a brilliant idea.
World, yeah.
Now we need to see it play out in the pitch.
Right. Now it's an idea.
Yes.
I mean, we see, something goes viral here and the messengers are all hated, but it doesn't feel like it's fully manifest, this idea, which is so cool.
Yes. So I think that there's a sort of disjunction in this pitch.
Yeah, there is.
First of all, in the first part of it, we don't know that they're women until the end. This is another first sentence that I think can be broken up to help us understand what this is. I think if you can start with a way, set us in this world and what happens with this technology.
Right.
I think that will go a long way to help us understand what world you're working within.
Yeah, this idea of world building with word pictures.
Yeah.
You really need to focus on that, I feel like. But I just get the feeling there's a really cool story in here
Absolutely.
that would do really well when it got out in the world.
Okay.
Meteor Showers by Crystal Chilcott. Moving every year or two is hard on teenagers under normal circumstances, but doubly so when each move means adjusting to a new culture and country. For a figure skating Olympic hopeful, getting the proper training is nearly impossible. When Santiago moves to train full-time at an Olympic training center site, he knows his life will change drastically. No longer will he live as a global nomad with his mom and an ever-growing number of half-siblings. For the first time, he will seek companionship beyond his family. What he isn't prepared for is a tragedy that challenges everything he thinks he knows about his family, faith, sport, and his place in the world. His grief sends him on a quest to find the father he never met, a search for existential meaning in his life, and a relentless pursuit of a spot on the Olympic team. As he uncovers his mother's secrets, he is aided by Athena, the world champion who lives next door, and Shaylin, his young secondary coach with a toddler and a big secret of her own. A comparable title is I Am the Messenger by Marcus Zusak. The novel would appeal to teenagers with goals of their own and interest in travel and who are struggling to find their place in the world. Is this a YA novel?
I believe
I'm
so.
assuming?
Since the author said it would appeal to teenagers.
Right, but it probably should say it's a
It absolutely
YA
should say.
novel.
So I love that this takes place in the world of figure skating.
High-end sports,
Figure skating in particular, I think, is something that is really, really, our daughter, for example, loves watching. We love watching
Many
figures.
people who read YA novels love Olympic figure skating.
Exactly.
So you've got the two things that you put them together in a good way.
So one thing that you should know, anyone who's writing YA, a male character as your protagonist makes something much harder to sell.
Like Harry Potter.
That was middle grade.
Yeah, but then it was YA.
I know, but that was once it was a huge success. So anyway.
No, it's true. Everybody says that.
So just something for you to know. I'm not saying you should switch the character to a female character or anything, but you need to know what you're going to come up against. So the more that this can obviously appeal to girls as much as boys would be relevant.
Absolutely, yes.
While you talk about this, I have to go get the plug because we're about to.
Oh, running out of juice. That would be no good.
Yes.
All right. So I was a little unclear why it was called Meteor Showers. It didn't really resonate with me given what the story is. And then when it's more specific, it's better. And when it's less specific, it's not as good. Adjusting to, okay, so I'm somebody who moved around all the time. So, I like that idea. But it'd be cool. Like, this is just one example. Moving around every year or two is hard on teenagers. Like for me, I went from the most racist place in America to northern Minnesota, where everyone has a Scandinavian last name. I went from extreme heat to cold, and it was very jarring. So maybe just some specifics about that. And I didn't get this enough, it felt like, of the, when you're an Olympic hopeful, you're spending 5 hours every day on the ice probably. So I didn't get enough of that sense of, what his daily existence is like. You know who wrote a great book about this kind of thing is David Foster Wallace. Takes us into a, wow. This is
sorry,
so
sorry people.
I'm sorry. It's my wife, not me. Takes us into a tennis academy, David Foster Wallace does. And what's one of the cool things about it is that we actually get a sense of like how unbelievably draining and horrible it is to every single day have to hit 10,000 balls, and the toll that it takes in your body, which, I think that probably should be in the pitch somewhere.
Yeah, because we're not getting a sense of the character.
The character's daily life.
Exactly.
And what that
and
involves.
that's if you're going to put us in the world of high end sports, it's
Olympic sports.
Yeah, right. The fun of getting inside that world that most of us will never ever know anything about.
Absolutely.
Lastly, if you have any experience in this world, we must
have to know
that.
Yeah.
Okay. Velvet Touch by Lily Bloom. Velvet Touch is the story of a broken man and a skilled woman with a dark past and an even darker future. When writer Luke Evans lost his beloved wife, he lost everything. His family, his joy to live, and his goals to make the world a better place for the legacy he planned to leave behind. The only solace he gets now is from his dog, old music, and bottles of alcohol he keeps emptying. But when a bruised woman with a young baby storm into his life, Luke reconsiders his choices and gives life a second chance. But things are never that simple. Dark forces gather and more people enter Luke's life that challenge him in ways he hasn't even imagined. Torn between his past and his present, Luke must collaborate with people he thinks are his enemies to find out a terrible truth and achieve a great purpose. This provocative story of love, loss, and coming together is set partly in London, partly in a village in the Carpathian Mountains, and runs at 45,000 words. It is aimed at adults and is somewhat similar in style to James Patterson and Margaret Millar because of the short chapters that bring the story to life. I'm a graduate of Canterbury Christ Church University with a degree in film, radio, and television. I have a certification from Patterson Writing Masterclass. I've published a nonfiction book about wood carving, but I'm a debut fiction writer. Thanks.
So, really cool writing. First of all, the voice, you really can write. There was a number of phrases that really struck me as being absolutely cool and wonderful. A bruised woman, like that just tells you so much in so few words. Like, because the bruises, you know, they could be on the outside, they could be the inside, probably both. But just like 3 words, I feel like you
the bottles of alcohol he
that
keeps emptying. Yeah.
Like, you know, you could just say he's a drunk, but you said it in such a literary way that was very economical at the same time. So clearly.
Now, what's interesting is you have a comp title of the least literary writer out there, which is James Patterson.
And his books are, you know, they're so plot driven. This
right.
does not seem to be like that kind of book. There's lots of people who have short chapters that bring stories to life, but James Patterson does not seem like the right comp for this thing.
No, and the reason that we stress comp titles so much is part of them help someone actually understand what kind of book you're writing, but they also display your knowledge.
Right.
And you can turn off an agent or editor by displaying a lack of knowledge of where your book sits on the shelf.
Yeah, so how do we make this thing better? I don't quite get a sense of, like, I haven't fallen in love with Luke yet. I mean, he's lost. He's, I love that he.
Or the young woman who comes with the baby. I mean, she seems like the key.
Yes.
Like, who is she?
Right.
And what's interesting
Why are they
about
drawn
her?
to each other?
Yeah.
And, you know, when you say dark forces gather, like, your writing has no cliche in it, but that's a cliche. Dark forces gather is right next to it was a dark and stormy night.
Also, but things are never that simple for that matter.
That whole paragraph is so filled with generality. We need to know more of the specifics of what how are your dark forces different than all the other dark forces we've seen, and Luke's life that challenge him in way, I don't know what that means. Challenge him in ways he hasn't even imagined. What are the specifics of what happens? I don't understand that. Yeah, so I think the pitch starts incredibly strongly, and it sort of peters off
a little bit,
toward the end into generality, and really understand what the plot of this book is. In 45,000 words, it's a little slim.
It's almost like a novella.
Well, it's long, incredibly long novella, or
right.
Just we say these things, not that you can't have a great 45,000 word novel. I'm just saying that it's a red flag.
Yeah.
For an agent or an editor.
Yeah. Okay, that was our last pitch of tonight. If people
Let's give
have
a big round of applause to all of our pitchers.
If anybody has questions, you can post them in the chat section, and we're happy to stay on a little while longer and answer questions that you may have.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we will. By the way, if anybody has we love to travel and go to places and do pitchapaloozas and workshops and stuff. So if anybody has, you know, a desire to have us come to your hometown and do something, just let us know, because like I said, I was talking to somebody who's from Alaska, and she said, "Oh, I'm a librarian." I said, "Oh God, I've always wanted to come to Alaska." She said, "Well, let me see what I can do." She got a grant from Bill Gates. Next thing I know, we're in Alaska, rural Alaska, doing our pitchapaloozas on like this intro web connectivity thing with all these
tiny towns,
places in Alaska.
It was so cool.
It was one of our, I don't know, peak experiences as not just book doctors, but humans.
All right, let's see. How informal is too informal for a pitch? A pitch needs to mirror the voice of the book itself.
Right.
So if you have an extremely informal style in your book, your pitch should mirror that style.
But a pitch also has to contain certain information which seems to be against the idea of informalness. So he needs to say what category the book is. I'm not a big fan of it's this many thousand words. No one really cares unless, you know, your book is way long or way short. But what category it's in, the comparable titles, the sense of a plot, those things pretty much have to go in there. But you can do them in a very informal way, but the information, the plot has to have a voice, but it's got to have information also in it that makes us go, oh my God, I'm an agent. I'm going to spend the next 3 years of my life dedicated to this book and its success, or an editor. Or if you're, you know, consumer of books, I'm going to lay down my money and I'm going to spend 20 hours of my life reading this.
So the person who wrote the memoir about her father's stroke and her own brain tumor said, should she use a comp about there's a memoir out about someone who's a neuroscientist who lost her mind and it's doing well. Absolutely.
Yeah, it got a ton of press.
You want you want to associate yourself with books that
Get
have
on that
done
bandwagon,
well.
baby. Yes,
Yeah.
no question. Yeah.
Okay.
And I would also, if I were you, this is for everybody. If there's somebody out there who's writing on a similar subject, reach out to them. You know, put a 5-star review up on Amazon and friend them on Facebook and write comments on when they do stuff. And after you've done that a few times and established yourself as a benign and helpful presence in their life, then maybe reach out to them and say, look, I have a book. Do you have any recommendations? Can you give me a blurb or something like that? Just to be connected with those people. You'd be amazed the people that will write you back if you write a genuine, sincere letter that's filled with your passion and you've done some nice things for people.
So Tanya, you are asking a question, I think, on a YouTube video, and I'm scared to close this out.
Oh,
if
wow.
you can put it in the comments field, I see that it said, how long is too long for ... but I'm not sure
for
what the...
eating or for making out?
So,
I would say until your lips get sore would be the answer.
so
to that
if you
question.
can do that, or you can email us afterwards, and
Yeah.
we're also happy to answer.
David@thebookdoctors.com. So, yeah, any questions you have, any problems, don't hesitate to email us. Did we mention the YouTube channel?
Yeah,
I think we did that. Yeah.
We did.
And the
All right,
newsletter
well,
and everything.
Thank you,
Did we
everybody,
mention how awesome all these people were? They
were awesome.
It's really great pitches.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if a couple of these didn't turn into books that do very well.
All right, everybody, have a great night.
See you at the bookstore.
Stay in touch. See you at the bookstore.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.